Most investors overlook the Navexa versus Sharesight debate, but doing that could cost you accuracy, time, and money. I tested both for weeks, and what I discovered shocked me. One of them had a silent deal breaker that could completely wreck your portfolio tracking. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which platform I trust. Let me show you what I uncovered. So let me start with something I always look at before testing any platform: the user's feedback and reviews. Not the testimonials that they highlight on the websites themselves. Those are, they're always going to be glowing reviews. I mean real, unfiltered feedback from people who have skin in the game. And yeah, I read dozens of these reviews. Now, when comparing Navexa versus Sharesight, I went straight for the one-star reviews because, those usually tell you what can go really wrong. So for Sharesight, I found this one review that caught my attention. This user said he was still waiting for a transaction to be reversed. The person he spoke with initially responded quickly, but a week later, still no refund. That's annoying, especially when we're dealing with money. That's really important stuff, but here's what gave me some peace of mind. Sharesight actually replied later, and not with one of those templated responses that feels kind of robotic. They apologized, admitted that the delay wasn't ideal, and explained that reversals can take some time depending on the banks involved. Plus, they asked him to reach out again to make it right. So, while that situation itself is not great, it seemed more like an exception than the norm. And honestly, if that's the worst case scenario, a delay with an open line of communication and a potential credit card chargeback as backup, I'll take it. And to be fair, there are a lot of users who say the opposite. One said the Sharesight interface was fantastic and praised how easy it was to import files directly from their broker. He even managed to talk about the reports that were so detailed he could download them straight for tax time. Another user wrote that Sharesight helped him track portfolio performance and income accurately, saying that it's excellent value for money. He even called it an outstanding product. Now, let's talk about Navexa reviews. Here's one Navexa review that stuck with me. This user said that the site constantly lagged when opening their portfolio. And that's not a one-time glitch, he said. It consistently failed to sync with his broker. His final verdict? Not worth the price. And, ouch. See, with Sharesight, I've personally never run into performance issues like that. Pages will load fast, imports work seamlessly, and everything syncs in real time. That alone gave it a huge edge in my experience. And when you factor in how crucial it is to have reliable access to your portfolio, especially during volatile markets, those delays on Navexa could seriously hurt your investing decisions. So that all just brings me to the features. Because with Sharesight versus Navexa, this is where things really start to separate. The first thing I noticed using Sharesight, getting started was way smoother than I expected. So you can add your investments in 3 different ways. If Sharesight supports your broker, just import your historical trades automatically. If not, you can upload a spreadsheet file or manually enter your positions. In my case, importing from my broker took literally a few minutes, and everything, including dates, prices, and dividends, was just automatically already filled out. And with Navexa, I wish I could say the same. This reviewer said importing a portfolio was so difficult, he ended up calculating things manually. Not only that, but he said he never even got the 7-day trial that Navexa promised during sign-up. That's a pretty big red flag. After getting my data into Sharesight, I dove into their cash account sync feature. I didn't think I'd care about this, but it was surprisingly helpful. It pulled in both brokerage and bank account activity, so I could see my full net worth at just a glance. Dividends, deposits, fees, all automatically tracked. Navexa has a similar concept, but syncing was spotty when I tried it. I had to go back and fix numbers manually more than once, which just added unnecessary friction. And another win for Sharesight for me was their market coverage. They support over 60 global stock exchanges, so that means I could track ETFs from London, stocks from Tokyo, and crypto all in one dashboard. For investors with diversified portfolios, that's a big deal. Navexa covers fewer markets. They handle the basics like NYSE, ASX, and NASDAQ. But when I tried adding some international stocks, I had to treat them like custom assets. It worked, but it wasn't automatic, which means more setup, more maintenance, and more chances for error. One feature I didn't expect to use as much as I did was Sharesight's custom groups. This lets you categorize your holdings by sector, country, asset type, however you want. I grouped mine by risk level and income type, and it gave me a clearer picture of my exposure than I've ever had before. And then there's the share checker. Honestly, I think this is one of my favorite parts of Sharesight. You can simulate how $10,000 would have performed in any share, ETF, or fund over a specific time range. I used this to backtest a few trades that I almost made last year, and let's just say that I dodged some bullets. Security-wise, I did some digging, because obviously I'm not linking all of my financial data to just any tool out there. Sharesight is SOC 2 Type 1 certified, has encrypted backups, two-factor authentication, and independent audits. Everything about their setup feels trustworthy to me. Navexa talks about security, sure, but there was less transparency there. I couldn't find the same level of certification or detail. Let's also talk about the individual holding page on Sharesight. So this is where I spend the bulk of my time. It gives you a breakdown of every position from trades, payouts, corporate actions to the total return. Everything's editable and it updates in real time. It's the kind of control that makes you feel in charge of your portfolio again. So yeah, when it comes to real usable features that'll actually help you become a better investor, Sharesight blows Navexa out of the water. But you know what? Let's be real. No tool is perfect, and even Sharesight has its quirks. For me, the biggest adjustment to it was the interface. At first glance, it can definitely feel like a lot. There are a ton of options, reports, toggles, settings. If you're switching from a basic tracker or a spreadsheet, it might seem pretty overwhelming. But honestly, I got the hang of it quicker than I thought. They have an onboarding guide, plenty of help articles, and even email support that actually replies. It's not a learning curve, it's just a few learning steps. And the way I see it, if a platform gives you more power, it's worth taking a little time to learn how to use it, right? Now, here's where things get a little tricky. When comparing Navexa versus Sharesight, you might expect a huge price gap, especially with how different their features are. But they're actually closer than you think. Sharesight is priced fairly, especially if you take advantage of their free tier to test the waters. So for serious investors or tax season prep, their paid plans will unlock the real value and the deeper power. And Navexa looks cheaper at first, but once you start needing those deeper features, that changes quickly. Plus, you're not getting the same support or stability. I'd argue Sharesight gives you more return on investment, especially when you consider the time it saves and the stress it eliminates. Check the link in the description to see the latest pricing and take advantage of any promos or discounts available. I'll try to keep it updated there. So here's my final verdict after testing both. Navexa might look decent at first, but under the hood, Sharesight is just on another level. It gave me confidence in my data, clarity in my performance, and control over my entire portfolio without the lag, sync issues, or the guesswork that I faced with Navexa. If you want a tool that works with you, not against you, Sharesight is the clear winner. Check the link in the description of this video to get started with our special discount and coupon.